Om Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So who wants to start?
ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन कृतितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुशन्तदामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेक्षिणीम्।
Shri?
नमोस्तुते व्यास विशाल बुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दाय तपत्र नेत्रः येन त्वया भारत तैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमय प्रदीपः
प्रपन्न पारिजाताय स्तोत्रवैत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः।
Chandra, you want to try this one?
वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् सर्वधर्मपरित्याज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वां सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुच।
Thank you. So we are almost on the second last lecture of the second chapter today. And next week we will finish it. There'll be only one more shloka to be done. It's a very small chapter. It's only about 20 chapters, 20 shlokas. Sorry, am I frozen?
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm good? Okay. For some reason on my thing, I am looking frozen here. We did quite a bit of review last time. We are now literally, in this last 7 shlokas from 13th chapter, we are looking at actually the characteristics of the highest bhakta. And we have talked about how bhakti yoga is like the highest, and even, on top of jnana yoga, you can say that, because jnana yoga gives you the ability to understand who you are. But bhakti yoga takes you directly to the Lord, and for us to recognize the oneness with the Lord. So in the 12th chapter, we see all the qualities of the bhakta. And for many of us, when we think about moksha, we think that, oh my God, that is a situation I don't know whether I get in this birth. But one thing for sure is, in order to get moksha, we need to have those qualities. And so that is what the 12th chapter does. 12th chapter really gives us a glimpse of the qualities of the highest bhakta, who has actually gone through all these levels of karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga. And that is what, we started looking. And last week, towards the end, we were talking about the Sarva Arambha Parityagi, the one who has renounced everything. But just as a kind of a review here, very beautiful qualities here, anapekshaha. Anapekshaha is somebody who is uh, emotionally not dependent upon any external factors. One who is emotionally, really self-sufficient. So, such a beautiful quality, right? Because it's only somebody who has that quality can afford to literally give love to anybody. I mean, I'm reminded, of course, this is not about love or anything, it's actually something material. And that is, somebody like Warren Buffett, right? Now, Warren Buffett, he, from what we all have read, he still stays in the same house. And he, because of the fact that, he by himself is so self-sufficient, he can actually give away a lot of his money out, right? Now, this self-sufficiency is not as if it is a physical thing. I have so much, so I can afford to give so much away. It's actually all in the mind. And in the mind, it starts with this emotional qualities like love and everything. Such a person is free to give love to anybody. Now, uh, taking the transition from, say, Warren Buffett to many of our Mahatmas, um, or let's take even somebody like Mahatma Gandhi, again, the simplicity is the aspect of it. Somebody who lives a simple life naturally is able to give a lot away. So simplification is probably the easiest thing that we can start to practice in here. So going even further on from Mahatmas, when we look at a lot of the Shankaracharyas, the Swamis, for all of them, they practice a simple living, and they actually show us how that when our life is very simple, it's easy to be emotionally, what should I say, giving. And so such a person is totally a giving person. Then Shuchihi, somebody who has habits of cleanliness. Cleanliness as in all aspects, whether it's the external environments as well as the internal environment. So somebody is a master of his or her own mind, and they do not allow any kind of thought to really disturb them. So mental health wise, they are really so pure. And then Dakshaha, which is Dakshaha meaning somebody who is very adept in doing anything. The person is highly efficient in all situations, and the person is able to take the right decision at the right time. It automatically comes through. And again, this is dovetailing on the previous one, which is Shuchi. So somebody who has a very clean mind, the person is never going to sort of doubt the doubt any kind of thing in the person who's coming to him. So, for example, in a situation, sometimes we think, okay, really, why is this person saying it? Does this person really have something for themselves, and that is why this person is saying it? So, should I change my decision based on how I think that that person is expecting from me or whatever? So, no, that is not what it is. And the point is, when my mind is very clean and clear, then my actions are automatically dakshaha. Dakshaha, which is being very efficient and proficient in all these situations. So, for all of us, who live in this world, I mean, we obviously face situations, we face people, we face so many, I mean, right now with the political scene everywhere, we always try to superimpose our own beliefs on a certain action that is happening. But here, Daksha is trying to be, and that actually brings to the next one, which is Udasinaha, which is impartial or completely, one second, I have to take my, yeah, yeah, there it is. Who's impartial, unconcerned, and indifferent. So the person can afford to be completely impartial, unconcerned, indifferent because he or she knows that they're doing the right action all the time. 89. Sorry, my mouse is acting up here. Okay. So that is what is udasinaha. And gatavyataha is somebody who doesn't get affected by anything um, which is happening. Totally the person is able to do, even if something happens, that things are going to change anyway. So then why do we have to worry about it? So that's the idea between gatavyataha and sarva aramba parityagi. We'll come to it even more in detail, but the point is the person who is very clean in mind and the person uh, who is able to go through the daily work without being troubled in everything. So that person is really not looking to achieve something because that person really doesn't have a desire of his or her own, but who does anything that comes away because it has to be done. It is part of the ecosystem that they are part of. They're part of a team, or in a family. You do things because you need to just do it without any expectation. Again, anapeksha, which are without any expectation. But also more importantly is um, giving up the ownership of even starting something. So that is what this whole thing we talked about last week with regard to the 16th shloka. So any thoughts on this six?
Haruam, is
Yes.
anapeksha is same as karmaphala tyaga?
Anapeksha is not karma phala tyaga, even though here it says abandoning fruits of action. Apeksha means having an expectation. So anapeksha is having no expectations at all. That's how one can interpret anapeksha.
Thanks.
So we talked about really what are the qualities we need with regard to various situations. And I would say definitely these are, these are definitely the things that is needed. And especially the Shloka 16 talks about um, you know what are the things that we expect from our actions. The previous thing was about from people, and that is where it was. So anapeksha literally is free from all expectations of one who's free from any so the thing is, if you think about this thing, right, let's say I'm part of a project team and I'm actually doing well, and there is an expectation that I will be praised for doing the job very well. So there is, I would say, a kind of a binding expectation. When I say binding expectation is the fact that I'm going to be praised, that part of it is what motivates me to do the job. So it sort of binds me to that particular action. So that is apekshaha. So anapeksha is somebody who is completely free of any kind of expectations. And I can see how important this can be with regard to our mental health itself. When I don't have any expectation, then I'm not disappointed, you know. And today's world is there's a lot of expectations from the social media, right? So there is a lot of an emotional dependence. As soon as I post a picture or I comment on something, I expect a lot of likes for that particular post, right? So this creates a kind of a dependence, and this dependence on the social media or dependence on my boss or dependence on my partner all this is expressed in the form of an expectation, you know. So if you do not depend on something, obviously, I'm not going to be disappointed. And this holds good even for, say, our any of our uh, any of the things that I'm attracted to. Simple thing is, say, coffee. You know, we have become so dependent on coffee in the morning, and this can be different for different people. I mean, for some people it might be tea, for some people it may not be coffee or tea, but it may be something else. And this is another thing. Sometimes, just because I don't drink coffee or tea, I may think, oh my God, I have conquered something, but then I may have an expectation from something else, you know. Uh, we don't know. For each one of us, this is the thing that we may have to look into is, what am I dependent on something? And the law is, anything that I'm dependent upon, I have an expectation from it. So how do I uh, develop a freedom from this dependence? Because this freedom from expectations literally means I will have freedom from any disappointments also. So that is the whole idea behind this, is I need to make a list of all the things I'm dependent upon, and then probably for each one of them put what percentage am I dependent on. I mean, let's face it, today I might be really dependent upon my grandchildren, maybe not my children, my grandchildren. In the sense, I'm really looking forward to the day when my grandchild will grow up, and then the grandchild grows up and gets married, and then they have a child, you know. So it just continues on. I'm just giving that as an example because many of us are at that age of having grandkids. So this expectation cannot be just for people, it can be for anything. I expect my bus to come on time. I expect that today the weather is going to be okay. We just talked about rains. I expect that every time it will be good. So this is what Shastra is saying, that let any of our expectations be. I mean, it's okay to have an expectation, but that expectation should not be binding us, you know. Uh, of course, I can expect that today it should not rain, and I take an umbrella in any case, but it will rain because that is what it's supposed to do, right? So, developing that mental strength to hope that it won't rain, but be prepared for the worst. This is really what Anapeksha is all about. What do you all think? Is that easy to practice, or how can we put this in practice?
Hari Om.
Yes.
It when you say it looks easy, but it is not that easy. I think it is not that easy to practice, but we can always try.
We lose Sunitha ji?
Yeah. No, I'm okay. I think my talk continuously. That's when. But the thing is, so what kind of a strategy can we adopt to come? See, the thing is, like you said rightly, Meena, it's easy to say, but hard to practice. But we need to start somewhere, right? This is
Yes.
why we have our four, um, you know, the Brahmacharya Grahastha Vanaprastha ashram. We are given that Vanaprastha ashram is such a beautiful situation to start practicing this anapeksha. And the question is, are we living it? Are we really living it? Can I compare myself to 30 years before and say that, 30 years before, I was really attracted to this, now I'm not. Of course, in many of them, we can say that because sometimes it's a very natural fall off. But then, are we attaching ourselves to something else? Is the question we have to ask ourselves.
We need to practice detached attachment.
Mm.
That's what Lord Krishna says. So,
Right. But how are
I
we
mean,
doing?
at this, as you said, we all of us are this or this or that age group. So we have to. If I mean, already most of us have started, but still we have to
Right,
continue to reach. Yeah.
right, right.
Hari Om.
Yeah, go ahead, Anand.
Yeah, is it like attached to the higher one and detached to the lower tendencies? And that
That
too,
is
and
correct.
again,
That
that's a
would be
practice. Yeah.
right. That is one strategy which we can use. For example, if on a Friday night I was always spending the time seeing a movie or something, can I use that same time for maybe either a seva in the community or maybe even reading a good elevating book, something like that. That could be one way to channelize and straighten our mind to look at something else. So again, Shuchihi, we talked about it, one who's clean externally and internally. Um, Shaucham, we'll come across this word Shaucham in 13th chapter, you know. And Udasina literally means actually indifference. But this word, if I say indifference, then it kind of means negative, right? So Udasina should be looked at as, being indifferent, the one who is actually not partial, somebody who is impartial. Very important thing, especially for decision making, when you're sitting in groups to discuss things, very this one. So that is Udasina, one who is not siding anybody, but is able to look at the problem as a problem and is able to take any kind of emotional bias out of it. So that's kind of the Udasina. And then Gatavyataha, one who is free from really all sorrow. So whatever maybe the kind of experience a person is going through, that person knows that they don't have any control over what is coming to us. I mean, this is really, really the truth, right? What I'm going to face tomorrow, even if this rain, for example, that I have no control. So even the greatest of the Mahatmas, they know that they do not have any control over their experiences because the experiences have their own controls, you know. The controls are, of course, uh, location. For example, I mean, it's not raining in Detroit or Boston or at the moment, but it's raining over here. So that's something we have no control over, climate change. Then time also. Sometimes it rains in the morning, sometimes it rains in the night. And very, very, even more important than Desha and Kala is actually our own destiny, our prarabdha, Uh, it's only I who have to go through it and not you or anyone, for this rains, whatever. So these things are all dependent on these things, Desha, Kala, and Prarabdha. Three things. All three things is beyond our control. But what is in my control is how I face it, you know. And that is what is Gatavyataha is somebody who know that as it comes, that they're able to take it. So that is the gatavyataha, which is very important, and it's not really superficial or anything, and really learning from this. So gatavyata, free from any kind of, literally also any negative reactions, saying, why me? Why am I going through all this? At this point in time, I've done everything that I can, but why is it I'm going through it? That kind of a question will never arise for somebody who has understood the laws of nature, the law of prarabdha, the law of destiny, and is really able to take it. So then Sarva Arambha Parityagi, the one who has given up all the Arambha. Arambha means, again, going back to Anapeksha, means binding actions. What do we mean by binding action? Is that, when we get into any action, thinking that once I do this, it's going to give me great amount of happiness. I mean, simple things like, for example, the way we have our society is, we think if I marry this right person, my life is going to be complete. If I have my child, my life is going to be complete. If my child goes into IIT or Harvard or Stanford, my life is going to be complete. If my child, gives birth to a son, and uh, then my life will be complete. So this is how uh, we really look forward in all our actions. But it is extremely important for us to remember that these actions, or with these people coming into my life, they all are they are all finite. They all have a start and an end associated with it. So when there is a start and end associated, naturally we that kind of an action will not give us happiness, because when we start it, we are happy. When it ends, we are unhappy. So anything which has a start or this one will never be satisfying. It will never lead us to being complete and said, this is it, I'm done. I have now achieved what I wanted. I'm happy. That will never ever happen, because finite things can never lead to infinite happiness. If I recognize that that I am infinite, okay, I'm Purnam. That's why the Purnamada Purnam Idam Purnat Purnamudachate, that Shanti mantra is so beautiful, because it says, I'm complete, I've come from complete, I don't need anything to make me complete. So that is the whole idea of Sarva Arambha Parityagi, is somebody who starts action with no expectation, knowing very well that there is, so the word Arambha is the key point here. Is, do we start any action expecting that that action is going to give me permanent happiness? If that action is not going to give me permanent happiness, then we have to question ourselves, why am I doing this? So that's why I think this Sarva Arambha Parityagi, which I mentioned last time, is such a beautiful one. And there is a beautiful shloka from Upadeshasaram, which is written by Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi. Kriti Mahodavadau Patana Karanam Palama Shashvatam Gati Nirodhakam. It says that every action, when it falls, there is really no fulfillment as such. Palama Ashashvatam. That result of the action is never really fulfilling. So why are we doing such a thing, is what we are questioning. So that's just a review of the all the qualities which I wanted to complete in a little better way. So now the next one, um, we are now going to work, looking at the attitude of a devotee towards, this kind of an elaboration. We saw how the attitude of a devotee towards action, the attitude of a devotee towards people, and the attitude of a devotee towards situations. So now in Shloka 17, he's elaborating the attitude of a devotee towards situation, any kind of situations, objects, whatever he encounters. And one thing for sure is each one of us, we we all do not face the same situation. We all do not have the same objects. We have created a situation in which all these objects and situations is something that we have ordered for ourselves. So the question is, if I have ordered this for myself, then why am I um, why am I so joyful sometimes? Why am I disappointed? Why am I, so that part of it is what we are seeing here in this almost six qualities. So, na hrishyati, na dveshati, na shochati, na kankshati, shubha parityagi, ashubha parityagi. I know it's easily, you can understand this. It's like whenever we encounter any situation or an object, you know how it is, right? Either we are very, very attracted to it or we hate it. Or sometimes, we are also indifferent to it. Correct? So, attraction towards anything automatically creates, all these desires. Simple thing. I mean, many of us, when we came to the States the first time, did we really knew about pizza before or pasta and everything? But now, we like it, we enjoy it. It has created vasana within us. I remember this time when I came to States, there is this place called Mother's Pizza in Northwell. And I remember we all used to, like, we used to have a Sunday meeting in Avantika. We used to come back and automatically we used to go to this Mother's Pizza. And so much so that after 3 years, when I'm going back from here to visit our friends in in Detroit, the first thing that comes to my mind is Mother's Pizza. So we have developed this attraction for something, and this attraction brings a desire, and this desire is kind of stored in my mind. And this is about being attracted to pizza on the same lines. If I dislike something, that also gets stored in our mind. So, uh, so harshati means where I enjoy, where I get a sense of enjoyment when I'm coming across something which I really enjoy and I'm looking forward to it. And but at the same time, if I don't get it, then what happens? Nadveshati, harshati. If I lose an object, sometimes then I become actually not dveshati. Dveshati is towards things which I don't like. Nashochati, where I actually start to feel a kind of grievance, you know. And then Nakankshati. Wow, Nakankshati is such an important one because where it does not hanker after an object which is not acquired. Somebody tells me that maybe, if I go to maybe Morocco or something, I'm going to be very happy. So then I start to dream about it, and I dream of when am I going to Morocco for the first time and everything, So Nakangshati is something where keeping a mind so clean that my mind doesn't go to areas which, it's kind of time for me to slow down, and it's time for me to start thinking about, how to simplify my life or how to simplify my actions. So Nakangshati is very important from that. And then Shubha Parityagi, one who gives up good actions. And of course, the question might come, why would I give up good actions? Ashubha Parityagi, that's easy to understand. Of course, I want to give up some things which I'm not, I know I have to give up or whatever. If I'm a diabetic, I have to give up sweets. So shloka number 17. Yo na hrishyati na dveshti, yo na hrishyati na dveshti, na shochati na kankshati, na shochati na kankshati, shubha shubha parityagi, shubha shubha parityagi, bhaktimanya same priya, bhaktimanya same priya. So yaha, he who na hrishyati, not rejoices, na dveshti, nor hates, na shochati, somebody who doesn't grieve, na kankshati, somebody who doesn't desire for something else. Shubha ashubha parityagi, giving up good and bad. Bhakti manye, devoted person. And yaha, he who is very dear to me. So Krishna is saying that such a person is very, very dear to me. And so if we were to combine these words, na krishyati, na dveshi, the one who is free from extreme emotional reactions to situations, and that is na hrishyati, and na shochati, which is not, is not hankering after that. So na shochati. So and then so one who na hrishyati, one who is not too excited, and neither is too depressed. So when favorable conditions come, certainly we are happy. But if it doesn't come, that's okay too. So that is what Krishna is saying is for us to develop. Again, very important quality, because we may be living in Detroit and Boston. After some time, we think that, oh, if I go to Florida, that's, I think I'm going to be happy. But then maybe Florida has lots of mosquitoes. Who knows, right? Anywhere and everywhere we go will have its own pluses and minuses. And so Krishna is saying that, we should not allow these kind of emotional response to really cloud our discriminative power, because that's where we have this intellect. The intellect is really the greatest wealth for us. And this intellect is the one which allows us to discriminate between really different people. How, today we talk about emotional intelligence, quotient, EQ, and all that. But I think we need to have a discriminative power quotient also. How much are we really using our intellect, our discriminative power, to be able to be in control with all these situations, to know that some of these things are temporary, and how I can be about that itself. So that is na hrishati, this one. And na shochati, na kankshati, na dveshti, na kankshati, basically freedom from things which I dislike, and na shochati, which is not lamenting for a dear one, and na kankshati does not, as I said, how do I not go after things which I have not even thought about, you know. So that's the key thing here. So trying to be free of both of them. And Shubha, Ashubha Parityagi, one who has given up literally both punyam and papam. Shubham means, giving up the punyas, and Ashubham means papam. Both actually are bondage. Ashubha Parityagi may be, a simple plastic thread which is binding us. Shubha Parityagi may be a gold chain which is binding us, you know. The idea being that I'm a free bird. I really don't need anything to keep me happy or anything. And even doing good things at a later time. Of course, there is an evolution. Um, how do I first, as Anand said, replace the bad actions with good actions? But at sometimes the punyam also is like a golden shackle, papam, so that is the idea behind. How do I get rid of all these, anything which is totally binding me? So, just to go back, and so these were all the um, 6 different qualities in Shloka 17. Any thoughts, anything to comment? And then in Shloka 18, and then and 19 also, Sri Krishna actually now is literally summarizing everything what he has said so far. So he talks about equanimity, he talks about stability of the internal equipment itself. And again, it's not anything new for us. All the way from second chapter, we have actually been, hearing quite a bit about the Sthita Prajna Lakshana, right? So the importance of how we have to be equanimous and how this equanimity, is at the ego level, at the mind level, intellect level. And idea is how can we actually bring all this in such a way that brings peace and calmness to our life, And again, as I said, it is at the idea of our antakarna itself. And so let's chant the shloka. Samashatrau cha mitre cha, samashatrau cha mitre cha, तथा मानापमानयोः तथा मानापमानयोः शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु समसङ्गविवर्जितः समसङ्गविवर्जितः. So I think in the second chapter, either shloka 14 or 15, Matra Sparshas Kaunteya Shitoshna Sukha Dukkada Agama Payino Nityaha Tam Titikshasva Bharata. That was the shloka where Krishna is telling Arjuna how one has to be, equal in Matra Sparshas Kaunteya. Shitoshna Sukha Dukkada. And that is the same thing here also. He's saying Shita and Ushna. Sukha Dukkeshu. So, these are all the pairs of opposites, cold and heat, pleasure and pain, and then honor and dishonor. All of them are at the different levels. Cold and heat is at the physical level, pleasure and pain is at the mind level, and honor and dishonor is at the intellect level. So, in all these cases, somebody who's free from all this, and somebody who's also the same to an enemy and a friend. And even this one also, we had come across a shloka connected to this. So he's saying that is a person who is free from any kind of binding attachment. So sangha varjitaha, without attachment. So shatraucha mitrecha. So this doesn't mean that, the highest level, the jnani, is looking at everybody as an enemy. That is not the case. The point is the person has actually is the same towards a friend or an enemy, you know. That is just because we live in a world where we have all this kind of distinctions. He's trying to bring this up. And this is why he says, even in Mahabharata, you know, we had Yudhishthira, whose Dharmaputra, was called as Ajata Shatru. Ajata Shatru meaning that na jataha shatruhu yasya saha. Ajata Shatru. He doesn't have any enemies at all. So that is why even when they were having the dice game and everything, Yudhishthira never looked upon Duryodhana as a kind of somebody who's trying to pull him down or anything. He just said, okay, you know, I've been called for the game, I'm going to play this and do it. So that was the greatness of Yudhishthira's thing. He was really that Ajata Shatru here. Then Tatha Manapamanayoho. Very critical, I guess, for all of us. You know, we look at, you know, okay, am I invited for this? Am I not invited? You know, or I did so much, I'm not being honored, my friend is being honored. So these kind of thoughts at the intellect level is also something that can pull us down. And isn't that amazing or great to be able to be away from all this? And we have enough stories in our Puranas, and this is why the Puranas and the stories, Mahabharata, Ramayana, is so very important for all of us to read, because by the way you see Sri Rama and Sita and even Krishna and Mahabharata, how they react to situations really gives us the idea for this. And that's why even today, we have to give that exposure to our children for through all this, because this Manam and Apamanam, you see the characters in Mahabharata going through, and what can I learn from all this, right? So that is the idea behind trying to be in control of it. And then Shitosha Sukha Dukkeshu, of course, is much more easy to understand, but again, you know, we tend to complain sometimes about how in our area, maybe the rain is a little more than in other places. Why is that? Again, why me kind of thing keeps coming up. So, acceptance of all this is really the shock absorber for our lives, you know, and knowing very well again the temporariness of all this, and also the acceptance that I am going through all this mainly because of my own prarabdha, and the only way I can be in control of it is through my purushartha, or exerting the effort in acceptance and knowing that these things will change anyway. So once I have that kind of an attitude or mindset, automatically whatever I face, I will be able to be in complete control of. So samaha sangha vivarchitaha, because you know that the pairs, as I said, they come and go. You know, just because everything is great for me doesn't mean it's going to be great tomorrow. We may have great health now. We don't know how it's going to be tomorrow. So all these things are not in our hands. It's all my previous prarabdha, is because of which I have to go through what I'm going through today. So all these things I need to recognize and see how I can be in control over it. So that's the idea behind this. So this state of mind, when I can have it, it is actually completely asangatvam, because where I can still enjoy, I can still live my life without being attached to anything. So that's shloka number 18. And 19 we will do next week, 19 and 20. Very beautiful again, some beautiful qualities coming up. And we'll do that next week and we'll complete the chapter. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरिः ॐ.